did not break me. I'm still fighting for peace. I've got thick skin and an elastic heart, but your blood might be too sharp, like a rubber band until you pull too hard. Yeah, I'm messed up and move back. You won't see me falling apart. 'Cause I've got an elastic heart. Yeah, oh, 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 yeah. Oh, I've got an elastic heart. And I will stay up through the night. Yeah, let's be clear, won't close my eyes. And I know that I can survive. I will walk through the fire to save my life. And I want my life so bad. Been doing everything I can. Yeah, not one bites the dust. Yeah, it's hard to lose a chosen one. You did not break me. I'm still fighting for peace. I've got thick skin and an elastic heart. And your blade, it might be too sharp. I'm like a rubber band until you pull too hard. I'm a step and I move back. You won't see me fall apart. Oh, no, 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 no. 'Cause I've got an elastic heart. Until you pull too hard. I may step and I move back. You won't see me fall apart. 'Cause I've got an elastic heart.
What is up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live Tuesday night. We appreciate everyone who's joined us already. We appreciate everyone who made it to the new year. God bless you. You're watching Young Lion TV.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, won't you get up and stop fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Ariana, said hey. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to Emma. Everybody who's watching right now, please share this video. Please hit the share button. Hit those likes and thumbs ups and all that good stuff so everybody knows that we are live. And we thank you for watching. We thank you for tuning in. This is our first official stream of 2021 because last week we were on our boy Kyle's podcast, the Tri Jam Show. And, you know, Jake wasn't with us because he was sick. And we're all going through, everybody is like getting sick at this time. It's crazy. Like it's running through our whole camp. Moan is out today because he's not feeling well. He's got some stomach bug that he got from Stan. It's not COVID, but he's like got some stomach issues. But we got Jake with us here today. And
I did have COVID.
Yeah, that's right. And then we got Rachel with us sitting in with the old school Gap.
Christmas present from my mom.
Oh, nice.
No.
That's classic. That's vintage Gap right there. And then holding it down is John on the production, doing it all. He's got a camera today. How did you get the camera working?
Because it's the new phone.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, he's fresh with his iPhone 12 right there.
Mini.
Mini
is tiny.
It was so weird too, like holding a smaller phone again. I felt like it was the iPhone 4. Remember how small the iPhone 4 was in your hand?
I don't remember. But
So it's like I remember when I first got this phone, it took me a while for my hand to get used to doing things with one hand,
right?
Because it was so much bigger than.
What do you have?
This is the 10R or something.
Okay.
I'm still with that, you know, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So now I know you're gonna have to retrain yourself with the smaller phone.
Yeah, I mean, right now visually it's fine. Like when I picked it up, but how small my hand feels like it's starting to cramp from it being so tiny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Shout out to Paul Horner. Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to say Happy New Year to everyone because we were on Kyle's show, which was fun. It was different. You know, I know a lot of people tuned in. We tried to do the multicast thing. A lot of people tuned in and were like, what is this? But,
Yeah.
but it was, you know, Kyle is our boy, and he asked us to be on there. And I talked to him today about it too. Like, what was the response? Because we kind of touched on some things that y'all usually don't talk about.
Yeah.
But he said, you know, it was surprisingly like people were interested. You know, he said his mom was she said something about, you know, she's happy that he has someone like me in his life to talk to. You know what I mean? Because you know, I was getting on him about all the porn stuff and all that. But it was funny. But yeah. So this is our first. What?
Writing some lyrics from Elastic Heart.
Oh, yeah?
He said powerful lyrics. Yeah.
We love you too, Ariana.
Stephanie, hey.
Yeah, I think that's why we decided to do that song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't do covers a lot.
Yeah,
Especially
that was when we were trying to do covers and it was like very hard to pick because what can we redeem from this stuff?
That's true.
You know.
We always have those hard moments where it's like this, and this was back during the time where it's like we're still in the mindset of, well, we got to do something to catch people, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what can we do? We were still of that mindset, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which you know, a lot that's the normal mindset. You gotta grind, you gotta figure out what to do, you know, you gotta strategize. So we were like, well, let's do some covers of some contemporary pop stuff that's popular. So if people hear us do it and we flip it a little bit, you know, that will catch someone's ear. But then the hardest part for us is picking the songs to do, which I know you deal with sometimes too.
Yeah, I don't. It's always more like I'm like, oh, I like that song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Like, and then the more that I listen to the song, I'm like, oh, okay, there's some lyrics here which like means something in this context, but then you could totally do it your way and then they mean something else.
Yeah.
And that's like, unless you're doing that on a cover, I'm like, why are you doing a cover? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like to hear people singing a cover. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly.
Doing a karaoke version.
Exactly. I'm
of
just
the
kind of
cover.
like, that doesn't, they already did that,
Right.
you know, unless you're going to try something else.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point?
Yeah, and I think for us, it's always like, how can we totally turn this song on its head, you know? And with Elastic Heart, we just kind of like it had elements of reggae
So we
like
just took it there.
underneath, so we just kind of just pulled it all.
I
the
like
way
y'all's version better than the original version, quite honestly. Like, maybe I'm biased, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've listened to it way more times, even apart from like the podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it being like part of the mix and the loop. And
Yeah, we just kind of threw it up on YouTube, and it actually does. You know, it's so annoying because it does get traction because of the fact that it's a cover of a Sia song, and then all the comments are always like, "Oh, this version is amazing," you know. But you want that you wish people could find your own music that way too, you know. Like, it's so now this endless sea of music that you just drop a needle in and hope that someone can find it, you know.
Yeah. But I think things are changing.
Yeah.
You know, this has been a whole year, 2020, of changing and seeing things differently.
Yeah, and Stephanie said Happy New Year. Happy New Year,
Happy New
Stephanie.
Year. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. It's 2021,
2021.
which is, you want to talk about that a little bit? Some of the stuff you were getting on that? We don't have much to talk about today. It's like there's a lot going on. People are people are losing their minds. So we just gonna like.
it's the
I
end of the
just
world.
got
Yay.
I mean, I can just only speak on what God's, showed me about 2021.
Yeah.
So he said 2021 is the year of grace. And 20, when you break that down, I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
In terms of like something that God showed me a while ago. So I always break things down. When I see numbers, I'll break it down and, meaning I'll add it up and it always comes to a final number.
Right.
And that final number is 5. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, 5. So, 5 is the number of grace. And grace, there's like two ways you can see grace. One way you can see grace is it's something that is there that you're not seeing that's actually covering your life. So you got to recognize it. And then you come to the point where you actually see it affecting your life. That's that dove moment, like they say, dove eyes moment. And then the other part is coming to a point where you can be a carrier of grace. And that's the ability of God on you. So that's a whole nother thing. So when I say it's the year of grace, I mean, I believe that a lot of people are going to be searching for God because I think we're going to go through some times. I mean, you could see already there's some stuff happening, but I think we're going to go through some things that are going to push people's faith and start looking for answers, outside of the institutions that they put their hopes into.
Yeah. I think that's becoming more clear. Again, 2020 was the year of vision, and I think a lot of people's vision became clearer about what institutions are corrupted, what mostly all, and in what ways and why we need to seek truth other ways and stop relying on these easy, like I was saying at church the other day, it's like what By the River is about. Like, you are constantly told, oh, well, that's where you go to get news, or that's where you go to get educated, or that's where you go to get, whatever, to get healthy, and then starting to find out that a lot of these things have been corrupted by greed and money and influence and power and all these things. So it becomes a false way to go get those things, or it becomes a way that you can go there to get a version of it, but it's a version that's meant to control you in another way, or it not really free you in the way you think.
Yeah. Being on I was talking to you about this, being on a clubhouse room.
Yeah.
And hearing somebody talk about like how we've evolved in terms of, because it was like talking about therapy or Jesus.
Yeah.
Or Jesus
therapy and Jesus.
Yeah. Therapy and Jesus and Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's a disconnect. Like I was seeing, like hearing what people were saying. I think a lot of like religion, there's a disconnect between like, well, this is church, or this is God,
right? And
this is something else. Like you can't have the two.
Yeah. How many times do you hear, why are you bringing religion into this?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think like there's this human secular this secular humanism mask that has been put over what God does. That's what I was seeing. So one girl said, like, you know, we've evolved. So, and she was talking about like the church that started was like they had to trust God in for everything. We've evolved. And I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we actually devolved. And the reason why I say that is because we have so much. The only reason why we have everything that we have is actually the grace of God.
Right.
So like all the medical, like people can say, no, it's science. No, it's even for us to have understanding, God
Right.
opens it up.
Right.
Right. And it's people, it's a progressive thing
Right.
as we go through time. And people, because if you look, the boom was when Christianity started to really boom.
Mhm.
Right. And you'll have like a dark time, and then out of that you'll have light shine. Like you had the Dark Ages and you had Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like this explosion of knowledge and art, creativity,
Right.
and art. But it's actually the grace of God is in that, and a lot of people don't see it, so you miss it. But what happens is when you start looking at this, what the gift of God, like the gift that He's giving, instead of Him, the one
Yeah.
who gave it, then it gets corrupt, and you see that in our institutions now. Like people don't go to God. Like if I'm stressed out, I go to a therapist.
Mhm.
You know, if I'm sick, I go to a doctor.
Mhm.
It's like those places are there for you if you need it. Like
Right.
it's not a bad thing,
Right.
but it's just that you can be, if you put your faith in that, then if it's corrupt, you're not even going to know.
Yeah.
And then it can affect you in a bad way.
Right.
You know, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that where do you think if there is a devil, where do you think he's going to work? He's
Yeah.
going to work in the things that God gives us.
And not
you
only
know?
that, it's like by nature, it's going to be corrupt because you're going to other men to fix you. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
going to other humans that are flawed and are fallen just like you to give you the way to fix yourself. You know, so it can't be 100% the right thing. You know, the only person that can fix you is God.
Right, right. But I do think we get an ability.
Yeah.
That's the grace part. But
Mhm.
in order to get that, you got to trust in Him.
Right.
You're not going to get an ability to actually do something that's going to be a wholeness thing in God if you don't trust in Him.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that's where we're lacking, and that's the state of the church. But not just the state of the church; that's the state of the world.
The
like
world, yeah.
you look at government. Like all these things are needed.
Mhm.
Government, education,
Medicine.
the arts,
Yeah.
medicine. All these things are needed, but if they're corrupted, then there's going to be no justice in it for people.
Right.
There's going to be no real mercy. If people if it's corrupted, that means that people are selfish in it, and they're looking for their own gain, and they might act like what's a narcissist? They're going to act like they're for you, you know, until you realize the truth. And
Right.
the time when you realize the truth, a lot of times it's too late.
It's too late. Yeah.
I saw a movie about this woman who was it started out, she got beat by her husband, right?
Mhm.
Like bad, like stomped on her. Like,
What was the name of the
broke her-
movie?
Dude, I can't even remember.
Mm.
My wife was watching it, and so she left the dude. But when they're showing the guy, like I didn't even know. I'm like, did he beat her? Because he was acting all nice and
Mhm.
sweet to her, and like every time like just come back. And so at first I was confused because they didn't show him; they just showed somebody beating her. I'm like, was it somebody else to beat? But as it went on, the girl, the daughter of them, she saw it and she didn't want to go because she would like drop the kids off,
Right.
So she didn't want to go there. And the woman was living in a hotel, like she had nothing,
Mm.
right? So she was trying to find housing. So she found like some loophole. It was actually in Ireland. She found some loophole where she could like build a house, and she got people to build a house. It was actually kind of inspiring because people helped her. Like she found somebody, and then people band together. They helped her to build this house. But in the middle of that, her daughter was not wanting to go with the dad, and it was like court ordered to go with the dad, and she didn't want to go because of what she saw, right?
Mhm.
And the mom didn't want to tell him because she knew he'd get mad probably. So she would like say she was sick or whatever. So finally he takes her to court, right? Now she's for custody. So now she's afraid she's going to lose him. So they're telling her like to play a role, like do this, do that. But she finally like just breaks down and just tells the truth, which is cool. Like she was straight open and explained what was happening. And then she was awarded custody. So the dad was so mad, and this is what I'm getting to, like he was playing this role, right? And playing this role until he doesn't get what he wants, right? So then they finish this house, and they're all excited because they put so much work. All the people who helped her put so much work in this house, finished this house. They had like a little celebration party, and in the middle of that celebration, the house is on fire. He burns the house down.
Wow.
And he gets caught, goes to jail. That's how it ends.
Right,
Like
right.
that. It ends with the kids and her like taking the ashes out of the pile of ashes, put them in a bucket. So, I mean, I don't know. I was kind of mad like that. They couldn't have showed us like the house being built or something, you know, again. But it's what I was looking at with that was how a narcissist can't let it go. And that's what the enemy does.
Right.
And that's what you're seeing. Like, I believe that's what we're seeing now with a lot of stuff happening in the country. You can't expect a liar to tell the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people want to like just tell the truth.
Right. Or it's like if I get enough evidence, then you'll be forced to tell the truth. No.
Yeah.
That you're never gonna get the truth from a liar.
Or even like a question people always have that like always boggle my mind was like when somebody does something so wicked, they're like, how could somebody do that?
Right. Why? I need to know why. Yeah.
How could I? That can haunt you because it's always in that why. You know, how could somebody do that? And that's the problem. We get caught up in that, you know, in that reasoning. Yeah. And it affects us.
And we've talked about it on here before about like how social media has kind of started grooming people into narcissists. Like
judging.
It's like a mass narcissist movement
Yeah.
creating apparatus that you see that like what you're saying, like people can't ever let nothing go. They can't ever just concede something or just, you know, say they were wrong or just like not. It's like I have to win no matter what. You know, I will if what you're telling me doesn't fit what I want to believe, then now I have to cancel you or I have to destroy you in some way, you know, and then I feel better. It's like the dude burning down the house, you know what I mean? It's like, even though he ends up going to jail, he had to do that.
He exposed himself.
Right.
Totally. Like, it came to the point where because in court, he was good. Like, he was, all right, like, but he knows, like, I'm going to get her. And that's how he got her.
Right.
And that was enough for him. You know what I mean? Like, it was like he got exposed. Yeah. And that feeling outweighed everything else. That's that pride. Yeah. You know, that's that rage that is like the rage when you suffer loss, when you're enraged, you don't count the cost. Right, right. So like enraged, every time somebody's enraged when they suffer loss, and I'm not talking about like, it can be a death, but I mean like anything that you put value on. Yeah. You know, like he put value on getting back those kids in a way where he felt it really wasn't about the kids, it was really about her because she didn't want to come back, you know. So he put value in that. That was his identity. So when, in terms of who he thought he was, you know, right. And when she didn't listen to him and she went against him and she won, he couldn't take that loss. Handle it, yeah. You know, so he didn't count the cost of what he was going to have to go through. Todd says, I really dislike the word religion because religion is full of the precepts of man. What we really need is a relationship with Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And Happy New Year, Todd. He said Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. I think yeah, that's the key. But and that can even become religious too. You know, saying a relationship with Christ, because what does that mean, and what does that look like?
Yeah.
So I think it has to do with intimacy, and how much are we willing to, how deep are we willing to go? Because real intimacy is about going deep with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and God wants us to go to those deepest depths. And Stephanie says, and you're given a gift, I guess she meant of salvation, but if you don't use it for His purpose, it is a loss.
Losable gift.
Oh, losable
Yeah.
gift. Okay.
Yeah. And Paul said, many of us have become lovers of our own selves, forgotten humility, and stopped growing. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like that's almost encourage. Like if you're on Instagram, you can't. It's hard to exist on that platform without turning into a self-involved narcissist, because you're watching all the people that thrive. That's what they do. You know, it has to be. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. That's what it is. That's what the platform is for.
Jamie got me like 3 years ago when we were talking about social media after one show I played with you guys at the coffee house.
Oh yeah,
And like afterwards, he's like, "So, what's your plan? You gonna release some music?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hate social media." He's like, "Yeah, we hate it too, but I figured with all the selfies you post, you really like it." And I'm like, it's like, this is exactly why I hate this. Like, damn it. But like, how do you exist without
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like constantly promoting yourself.
Mhm.
That's the whole point of it. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right.
But then you see it bleeding into your purpose for life. Like we've talked about friends that only plan vacations because they think about the Instagram posts that are going to come from it. Or I've been on vacation and seen people totally not enjoying it. We remember we were in Bahamas working, and right before COVID, and those two girls were on the beach for like an hour and a half. Were you out there? And they were just taking pictures of each other the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like that becomes your world. Like it's all about. It's almost like this. Remember that Second Life game that people
It's like
became
a simulation.
Yeah, they got obsessed with it, and people started like living their whole lives out through this game. Which I mean, I see a lot of people doing that, even like on GTA, and like you can get to a point where your whole life exists within that game, and without the game, you have nothing.
Yeah,
you know?
you can have social circles and everything.
Yeah,
Like except for what happens here when I'm in my room doing this thing, or when I'm on my phone posting to Instagram, like it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
pictures or it didn't happen. That's a fun phrase that's
Yep.
like really scary.
yeah. Pictures or it didn't happen.
Or even like being in like people who put their faith in church and not God. Like they start to, if like church being closed,
Yeah,
not to say we don't come together and we can't, but I'm just saying you can't see church any other way but the way you're familiar with
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's hard for people to change. And
So Todd sent us a video called "Why I Hate Religion." He said he wants. It's 4 minutes long, so I'll play it. But real quick before we do, I just wanted to shout out James, who's not here also, and he was real sick.
James.
He came down with COVID last week. Or was it last week? I think it was last week. Yeah, and he was
he came down with COVID?
Yeah.
I thought he didn't have COVID.
No, he ended up getting retested, and he had to go to the hospital.
Oh, I didn't know.
So Shaniqua tested positive, and he tested negative, but then he ended up having to go to the hospital because of his symptoms. Well, I think he went to urgent care first, and then they told him like, nothing we can do for you. You gotta go to the hospital. And then he got tested again while he was there. I think he told me, and then it ended up being positive. But he was, he lost like 20 pounds. Like the brother was going through it.
Wow.
I need to catch me some COVID.
Nah, don't say that.
I did. I texted him through it.
Okay.
And just told him I was praying for him.
Yeah. I was praying for.
And that's another thing. Like, I know from like having COVID, you get those thoughts like, how did I get this? Like,
Yeah.
and you start thinking about it, but it's really like just on a spiritual level / real level, because it's not separated, but
Right.
you start having thoughts, and then but when you trust in God, it's kind of like you don't really got to think about it. It's just that's what happens. You get the enemy don't play fair.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to. You're gonna get attacked,
Right.
and it's all about how you deal with it. You know how it says, "No weapon formed against me will not prosper."
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more to that. That's Isaiah 54, and you can't really quote that out of context because there's more about that. That's another thing God said to me, which is connected to that. It's the year of the blacksmith, meaning it's about iron sharpens iron. It's about coming together with people and sharpening your sword, and getting rid of the stuff that's shouldn't be there, right? And that's kind of what that's about, because it's about warfare. It's about the enemy assembling to get you out of wherever you're at. And when we trust in God, like what I'm seeing is that we come to the end of ourselves, right? And where we end, he begins. He begins to work. So anything that's formed against us is just something that we're going to overcome and then have the ability to overcome for others.
Right.
Right. So even in that, like the main thing that happened to me was, at first I had like chills and I had body aches. That was like the main thing that happened for me. Had a little bit of a cough, but it wasn't that serious. But I had really bad back pain, like back pain to the point where I was like it was hurting. But what was interesting was my mom, shout out to my mom, if she's still here. My mom, she was on the phone with me and she was like, let's just pray about it. Cause I was talking about my back and I'm like, all right, but I wasn't in like the state to really want to pray.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, just letting her pray for me. But then, and when we pray in tongues cause there's power there. And at first I wasn't really feeling it because you're in that state.
Yeah.
Like you get in that
Right.
fleshly state where you're like,
This isn't gonna
the
work.
war.
Yeah.
Not that it's not gonna work, but just that I don't feel like it.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So, but it took a little bit, and then I, got into it with her, and we were praying, and it went away. Went away, and I had severe back pain. Went away. So after that, there really wasn't much going on with the COVID. Like I just stayed in the house just because, I'm not going to be rude and affect people and infect people. But really after that, I was good, and it was through prayer.
Yeah.
So there is power in prayer, and there's power in laying it down, like, and giving it to God.
Right. And then, I mean, it was crazy. Like your wife, Fabian, nobody else tested positive. Yeah. What?
One thing, I wanted to test something on Jake, but I forgot. But when he had no taste, there was this thing going around on TikTok. Like they take an orange, put it over the stove, and roast it, and then they just peel away the skin, put brown sugar on it in a cup, and eat it. And it apparently repairs your taste buds and gets your taste back. It's like a Jamaican remedy, and it was like working. So
some Rasta man was like,
I was like, yo, let's test this on Jake. But I forgot.
I did lose my taste for like a day.
Oh, that's short.
Yeah, but it came back.
My friends lost theirs for like a week.
Nah.
Paul said, "Man, Jake, I thought that COVID turned you into a green chicken, bro."
What does that mean? What? You got to elaborate.
Yeah. But I mean,
and that's another thing. Like, me and my wife were together. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into details, but so like for her not to get it, I don't know how that's possible.
Right.
But she didn't get it.
She's immune.
I don't know. She didn't get it. So.
I mean, and it's like this is cold and flu season. It's weird. People are getting sick anyway.
Yeah.
So, 2021. Everybody was like, 2020's over. Like 2021 was just going to change everyone's life. Like, no. We still gotta press through this stuff. But let's watch this video that Todd sent just to see what he was talking about.
Better not be a bad video, Todd.
What if I told you Jesus came to abolish religion? What if I told you voting Republican really wasn't his mission? What if I told you Republican doesn't automatically mean Christian, and just because you call some people blind doesn't automatically give you vision? I mean, if religion is so great, why has it started so many wars? Why does it build huge churches but fails to feed the poor? Tell single moms God doesn't love them if they've ever had a divorce, but in the Old Testament, God actually calls religious people whores. Religion might preach grace, but another thing they practice. Tend to ridicule God's people. They did it to John the Baptist. They can't fix their problems, and so they just mask it, not realizing religion's like spraying perfume on a casket. See, the problem with religion is it never gets to the core. It's just behavior modification, like a long list of chores. Like, let's dress up the outside, make it look nice and neat. But it's funny, that's what they used to do to mummies while the corpse rots underneath. Now, I ain't judging. I'm just saying, quit putting on a fake look. Because there's a problem if people only know that you're a Christian by your Facebook. I mean, in every other aspect of life, you know that logic's unworthy. It's like saying you play for the Lakers just because you bought a jersey. See, this was me too, but no one seemed to be on to me. Acting like a church kid while addicted to pornography. See, on Sunday I'd go to church, but Saturday getting faded, acting if I was simply created to just have sex and get wasted. See, I spent my whole life building this facade of neatness, but now that I know Jesus, I boast in my weakness. Because if grace is water, then the church should be an ocean. It's not a museum for good people, it's a hospital for the broken. Which means I don't have to hide my failure, I don't have to hide my sin. Because it doesn't depend on me, it depends on Him. See, because when I was God's enemy, and certainly not a fan, He looked down and said, I want that man. Which is why Jesus hated religion, and for it He called them fools. Don't you see so much better than just following some rules? Now let me clarify. I love the church, I love the Bible, and yes, I believe in sin. But if Jesus came to your church, would they actually let Him in? See, remember He was called a glutton and a drunkard by religious men. But the Son of God never supports self-righteousness, not now, not then. Now back to the point, one thing is vital to mention. How Jesus and religion are on opposite spectrums. See, one's the work of God, but one's a man-made invention. See, one is the cure, but the other's the infection. See, because religion says do, Jesus says done. Religion says slave, Jesus says son. Religion puts you in bondage, while Jesus sets you free. Religion makes you blind, but Jesus makes you see. And that's why religion and Jesus are two different clans. Religion is man searching for God. Christianity is God searching for man. Which is why salvation is freely mine, and forgiveness is my own. Not based on my merits, but Jesus' obedience alone. Because He took the crown of thorns and the blood dripped down His face. He took what we all deserved. I guess that's why you call it grace. And while being murdered, He yelled, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Because when He was dangling on that cross, He was thinking of you. And He absorbed all your sin and He buried it in the tomb, which is why I'm kneeling at the cross saying, come on, there's room. So for religion, no, I hate it. In fact, I literally resent it. Because when Jesus said, it is finished, I believe He meant it.
That's good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good video, Todd. Yeah, one of the things that he said that we were talking about recently is talking about like boasting in your weakness. You know what I mean? Where it's like being able to, instead of like trying to show everyone how strong you are, being able to show your weaknesses, your vulnerability, and that helps so much more people, and it helps you. You know?
Yeah, and that's
it gives the enemy no place to hide. You know.
Yeah, that's the way of the world too. Like the way it's like people, oh, you're so strong. What you went through and you got through it. You know.
Oh, I get it. You saw Paul's comment.
Yeah. The chicken.
Yeah, the chicken
okay.
on.
I was really sick.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about?
Your weakness.
Yeah, you see how people switch it, like, oh, your strength is because you you overcame that.
Yeah.
You know, and just really like, even in that, like, you're just not acknowledging that God allowed you to get through it. But even if you, it's like, if you get through something and there's no change, then you haven't overcome it.
Right.
You just got through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't change you. But when you humble yourself and you're vulnerable, and I was looking at vulnerability, and it means to be like, it's to be open,
Mm-hmm.
right, to enemy attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I was looking at like, wow, we have to be open to God's sword
Mm-hmm.
to strike us in our wounds so that he can open them and heal them properly. Or because we're going to be, if we're not vulnerable, we're not just looking for people, and we're going to miss it,
Right.
you know, to keep ourselves from being attacked. We're also not going to let God in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So when we actually open ourselves up to him, he comes in, but he doesn't come in to kill us, but to kill what's been infecting us.
Right.
Which is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got to let him in. You got to let him cut you. It doesn't feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he gets that infection out.
And I think a lot of people are in a place where they're really scared to go through that. So
Yeah.
it's easier to just continue to, you know, hide or you know, put on a facade everywhere you go, like, you know, you have it all together. Like,
Yeah. But no, the best place to be is in a state of vulnerability.
yeah.
You know, if you're weak, and that's why the church is so messed up. And we were talking about this earlier, like, you put everything on a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
They're not equipped to handle everything.
Right.
You put everything on a pastor, and then the whole body is messed up. Like,
Right.
if one arm is doing all the work, you know, like, you think you got to lift something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to lift it with one arm. You're not using your back. You're not
Yeah.
using your legs. You're not using your other arm.
Right.
You're just using one arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're wondering why the whole body gets hurt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now you get hurt, and it's because we're putting everything on a pastor. Putting all the burdens on the pastor, but that's not the way God intended it to be.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that with even people now, like people who have prophesied about Trump. You
Mhm.
know, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Like people who have prophesied about Trump, and now people are like snapping on these prophets because of what's happened. And
And a lot of them are caving and backpedaling and apologizing, and you know.
yeah, and I'm even, I heard a few people, like popular people, say like, oh, it's because Trump didn't humble himself and
Yeah.
all these things, and it's like, no, you're just judging it.
Right. People making sense of,
Yeah,
you know, or wanting to, they don't want to be vulnerable
Mhm.
in what they.
It's like, isn't it a false humility?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna apologize so that I don't offend people. So, because people want me to apologize. Now, this is something God showed me today. It's kind of interesting. So you know how it says you'll be tossed to and fro by the waves of the sea,
Yeah.
right? But ask for wisdom.
Right.
Okay. When Jesus was on the boat, right? And you kind of heard this, but when Jesus was on the boat, what did he rebuke the wind,
Mm-hmm.
right? The wind represents the spirits that are whispering people's ears. And then he said, peace be still to the waves, the waters, or the waves of the sea. The waves of the sea represents every voice that speaks contrary to God.
Mhm.
It's rebellion. And it's literally death, because it's the sea of death. It's salt water.
Mm-hmm.
God brings in pure water to cut through salt water, to cut through death. You can take it back to the Red Sea too, how he cuts through. So when you look at sea as every contrary word that is spoken by us, every idle word we speak, every lazy, what does idle mean? Lazy, careless,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then you go back and listen to what the disciples said to Jesus. Don't you care that we're perishing?
Right.
So they're saying you need to be
Right.
You need to care.
Right.
So what's the look at what the world does to you need to care.
Yeah.
Don't you care?
Why don't you care about these things?
Everything that's going on, like
Yeah.
racism, all these
Yeah.
things, they're twisting
COVID. It's like,
Mhm.
you know,
And it
why
puts
don't you
you-
care? Why aren't you afraid like me?
it. Right. And it puts you in a false humility.
Right.
Now, look, it's funny because they're saying, why don't you care? Or you can even say, why are you being slack? Why are you being lazy? He was sleeping.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was sleeping in the boat. So sometimes it can look like people are being careless, but we're actually being careful. You know, and to trust God is not to move based off of what you see. And all those waters raging is what everybody cares about because of their fear.
Right.
Right?
Dude, if you spend 10 minutes on Twitter, it's like a crazy ocean that you're seeing all
Right.
these waves come in. Like this person's mad about this one's mad about that. Everyone's complaining. It's like you can be drawn into like, oh, I need to care about all of this. You know?
Yeah. And it sounds convincing. And you look, that's what religion is. That's what religion is on a grand scale in terms of everything. Like a narcissist wants you to care about the things they want you to care about, but they twist it on you. You all right?
Yeah.
Should I be concerned?
I just got super dry when I was talking.
So they try to twist it on you
I need some more.
to make you have to care about something you shouldn't be caring about. To make you have to apologize about something you have no business apologizing about. If you spoke a word from God that came from God, then what are you apologizing for? You know, and if you don't know if it was from God, well, that's the state of confusion. You're like the waves of the sea now. So you've been in those waves, right? And that's a different. And if you look at it, religion is when other doctrines come in, right? Religion, it deads the word of God. So literally, what did he do to the wind? He rebuked the wind because that's where the spirits lie. The spirits always lie in the winds of doctrine that whisper in our ears to get us afraid and cause people to be fearful and then yell. And if you look at it, I think it's Philippians 4. What does it say? It says, do not be careful of anything or do not be anxious of anything. You know, and I remember reading that one time, don't be careful of anything. And I'm like, oh, wow. We can't be sitting here looking at everything, you know, like we have to worry about this and worry about that. And Jesus said it. What chokes out the word? The cares of the world. They're the thorns that choke out the choke out the word. So when the thorns come around us, and like Paul said, a thorn on our side, what do we have to do? Our roots have to go deeper. So we might not know what's going on. We might not understand. But if we're vulnerable and recognize that we don't know why it's happening and we go deeper with God, he's always going to shift the situation. He's always going to show up. He's always going to say, peace, be still.
Right.
You know, and that's where we put our trust in. That's a true relationship that grows with him because you start to know his character.
Yeah.
And it says, Psalms 2, the nations rage and the kings plot a vain, like they plot against the anointed, right? So the nations raging are like the waters raging. And the waters rage because it's what's contrary to what they want to see because they're in their pride. And anything that stands up, like Cain and Abel, right? Cain was looking at the contrary thing to him. And instead of Cain being vulnerable and going to God, he killed the thing that was contrary. It was actually what was standing in righteousness. Right. You know what I mean? So he had to get that out the way. So the nations raging is always about what's unfamiliar to them that they don't want to look at. You know, that's what are the nations? It's the races.
Yeah.
So it's funny because race stuff is happening right now, and it's always like, what's in race? It's always about ignorance, right?
Yeah.
And the space in between that there's no reconciliation. You always have space between people that you can't reconcile because of pride. The only reason why it's not reconciled is because of pride.
Right.
But when we become vulnerable, love takes that away.
I was talking to you about that conversation on Clubhouse about reconciling race in the church. and that's why that conversation couldn't get anywhere, because it was
What were you saying? The what? Oh, the race
they're
thing.
reconciling racism in the church
Oh, that was on
on Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like there was a ton of people in that room too, and I was telling you, like, it was a bunch of prominent, you know, gospel rappers and artists on there, and they were all, people were just like, it was basically a bunch of people just in their feelings about complaining about being hurt about racism and why they can't reconcile that with church, you know, or it was, there was no real wanting to reconcile anything, you know.
Yeah. It was just about a complaining fest.
Yeah.
And I remember you told me something about that, where one of the girls said something like, how can I go to heaven and see racist or something like
Yeah,
that.
she
I don't
said
know
something
how.
like, I don't want to go to a heaven where people could be there that hated me on earth, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of doesn't make sense, but well, explain where she was coming from.
So
with
she's
that.
coming from the point of, like, you know how, like, there's plenty of white supremacists, KKK members that believe they're Christians. So she's coming from that standpoint, you know what I mean? Where, you know, because if you already are of the false perception, they're like, all you have to do is accept Jesus and you're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's where they're coming from. It's like, well, these people accepted Jesus, but they're still racist, you know? And, you know, trying to reconcile with, does that mean that they're going to be in heaven with me? You know what I mean? Type of vibe.
Yeah. So you get this this place where if we can't see how God can do it, which is obviously where she is, right? You're contrary to God,
Right.
and every voice, all those waters that collect together to rage, is the rage I have inside of me. And that and I can have that rage, but if I don't reconcile that with God, if I don't recognize in myself that there's this rage I have, but I know that God is the answer, and with Him, that's where my salvation lies.
Yeah.
How is that not a basic thing in what Jesus did for us?
Yeah.
That's missed, and it's missed on a lot of people who say they're Christians, who say they believe in God. And that's what's going on now. Like, how can people not see that Trump is trying to help America for the good? If anything else,
Right.
just trying to help America.
Right.
Like, if we can't see that, then what do we care about our own selves and our own ideas?
Right.
And that's where you start to speak against somebody without lack of understanding.
Because, yeah, I think it is just lack of complete understanding of even how things work, because people are being pointed to one thing to focus on. It's like, this is an evil person and you should hate him because of this thing that he says and that thing that he says. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then on the other side, it's also like, why are people thinking that the answer is to storm the Capitol and, you know, take something by force?
Yeah.
In a
Well,
way?
I mean, we do have to talk about how there were definitely Antifa and Black Lives Matters up in there too,
Yeah, absolutely.
inciting that. But there were people who did it.
Yeah.
They were on the other side.
Yeah, there was plenty of people that ran.
So-
But, I mean, that whole situation is crazy because, like, there's plenty of weird footage of, like, them just letting people in. Like, did you see the clip of, like, the police officers that opened the door?
They're like, come on.
yeah, they're like, come on in, guys. They're like,
I saw them pull the barricades and they were like, yeah.
no, one of the dudes opened the door to the Capitol building and was like, you know, we disagree with you, but we agree with your right to be here, so come on in. And they just let them in. Like, there was, and then, you know, like, they reported that I had the news article where the Washington Post reported that the mayor, or not the mayor, the chief of police or something, asked for a certain amount of, like, police presence there, and they were denied. So that's why, like, when you look at the footage, there was barely any cops there to like protect this building. You know what I'm saying? Like, which
Yeah, there was hardly any. And then there was this one, I saw a clip on TikTok. This guy, there was a cop. He's by the door and he's like trying to stop them. Like, yo.
yeah, what am I supposed to do
and
here?
then he like, I guess the Senate room, the chamber was like off to the left, but he tried to trick them and like act like he was guarding another door.
Yeah.
So they all started coming towards him. And he just backed up. And when he backed up, he finally got to a room where more officers showed up.
Yeah.
So it was like a row of the officers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird things. You know, I not to be like that guy, but I think that there was a lot of what went on there was to continue the narrative that people want to continue, and a lot of people fell into that trap. And I think that the same way when the George Floyd protests first started happening, I got on here and I was talking about like, yo, don't let them use you to continue to divide us. Like, when you go to a protest and you see a pallet of bricks, don't throw them bricks, because that's a setup. You know what I'm saying? And then you see the same thing happening with this situation where it's like, if they're gonna just open the doors for you, like, come on in, guys, like, it's a trap, you know. And the ultimate result of it is not to like the people that really are at work here and really are at play here, they don't care who's right and who's wrong. That's not what it's about. It's about continue to divide everybody and separate them into two camps that we can easily control, because we know that everybody who thinks this way is going to move if we say this. Everybody who thinks this way is going to move if we say that. And it just allows us to continue, but they're both going to continue to hate each other. So that just allows us to easily control people.
Yeah.
Now we can pass more legislation that would never got passed before, you know.
And that's where it's always about control, and how do you control people? Through their pride.
Yeah.
It's always about pride, right? Somebody said, let me see. Gina said, I believe everyone goes to heaven. I think we're already in hell on earth. Hell's a lot worse. But
yeah, I don't believe that. I think
I definitely know that we don't all go to heaven. And if you got to just think about it like this, like, if you deny what God comes to give, then you made that choice. You know, does God want anybody to go to another place that wasn't intended for them?
Wait, I gotta just mention this. Stephanie had a comment before, Mom. They said, "Oh wait, no disrespect to the young lady next to you, a woman." Because she had said amen. And did you see that clip where they were
amen and a woman.
Yeah,
that's funny. But and then, so we're talking about, somebody said about eternal life. Stephanie said, Angela, she said, no, that's true. I guess, what did Mom say? Not everyone goes to heaven. Okay. And Stephanie says, no, that's true. But that is God's desire. It's a choice. Eternity is eternity. It's where we choose to spend that eternity. That is our choice. Yeah. So going back to the nations raging, the nations raging are all of us who are rebellious towards God. And a lot of times we don't realize we're rebellious. We can be Christians and be rebellious.
yeah.
You know, what did God say was the greatest faith that he saw in Israel? It was from a non-Jew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was from a non-Jew.
Yeah.
Because he knew the order of command.
It was from the people that were oppressing them.
Right. Because he knew the order of command.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't understand the order of command. Like, everybody wants to preach, but Paul said it, like, you know, how can you hear if no one's preached? How can you preach if you haven't been sent?
Right.
You got to be sent, you know. And a lot of people, where are you sent from? You're sent from the throne. And if you don't go through the process of coming before the throne of God, then you can't even be sent to speak about what he's saying, you know. And So there's gonna be conflict in you of how do you reconcile these things that you really don't understand. And in religion, it's the same. You got to care about what you don't understand.
Right.
That's the trick. Care about what you don't, but I don't know what I'm doing. You know, the nine characteristics, or why am I not thinking about this right? The 9 spirits. All right. Anyway, love, self-control, patience. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on
Fruits of the Spirit. Or,
fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Characteristics of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Right. Self-control, love, patience, all these things, goodness. Right. If you're trying to do these things, well, then you're already in error.
yeah.
You're already in rebellion.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have to be raised up in you.
Right.
And that's through dying. If you don't understand, religion is, are you doing this? Are you
Right.
doing that?
Right.
How you living your life? But it's really, you can't, what does it create? It creates a place where it's almost like communism in a way. Like, can I be comfortable with saying something around these people?
Yeah.
Because do they really have my back?
Right.
And it's
No.
crazy because they're like,
They-
Yeah.
yeah.
we love you. We
Yeah.
love you so much. How are
We
you
were
doing?
praying for your
Yeah.
adulterous husband
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all, like, kind of like at the same time, like judging you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're like,
Right.
is this this great love, judgy love? I love it.
So you get in this place where you don't know if you can trust people or not.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the reflection of Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't trust him. So now we become rebellious. That's the world we grow up in. But I think God has taken us to a place that we're really learning how to trust in him.
Yeah.
And that's going to create an environment that we're going to be able to trust each other. Right? And then now God can trust us. See, because you got to love him first, and then you can love one another. If you don't love him first, how are you going to love one another?
Right.
You got to accept how he died for you so that you can die for others.
Again, it's understanding the order of things.
Understanding the order, understanding the process.
Yeah.
And religion takes things out of order.
I found this this video that I was talking
Okay.
about. Let's play it real quick. Excuse the language. But yeah, so
They're gonna lock us in.
You can disagree with it, but respect it.
like they opened the door and let them in. He said we disagree with it, but we respect it. That's what he said.
Wow.
And it's just people just like the funny thing to me about it is like when you watch certain news media, it's like
People stormed the
yeah,
Capitol. I'm
they
like,
tried
no,
to kill
it's
all
not
of the
exactly
people.
what
Yeah,
happened.
You know, it's framed
The
a certain
spin.
way. Yeah, it's framing. It's framing. It's to get you. It's to get you outraged. You know, it's to make you think like, you know, oh, look what they did. You know, but yeah, that was just to show you what I was talking about.
Yeah. And it's weird because people get caught up in the moment,
Yeah,
you know, and they think, oh, let's do this. But, like, what are we doing?
yeah. Like they don't. All those people that are walking in there don't realize that they're going to be used for a narrative. They're going to be used. Like a lot of them, honestly, I think they're just there because they really feel it's the same thing as it's literally the opposite of the George Floyd thing. They feel like they've been wronged in a serious way and that it's the worst thing ever and they need to go make their voice be heard about it.
Well, I think the majority of people who were at the protest, like there were hundreds of thousands of people, I think the majority of them were there just to support Donald Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
But
But they
then you
also
have-
they believe that this election was stolen and that this is like a grand conspiracy to steal the election. Most people really believe that.
Which it is.
But what I'm saying is they're there with that
With
mindset.
the anger.
Yeah, the anger
for
of
it.
that. And
And I think that's a minority. I think it was a minority. I don't think it was like a collective.
no,
Like, 'cause
the
if you-
people that were angry, yeah. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is you don't see a bunch of angry people in there running in smashing stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's people that are just going in there waving flags.
But there was
there
videos of that.
Yeah, there was
And
people that
that
were doing
was-
that.
And when they showed that, a lot of that was Antifa.
Right.
They even identified some of the people.
Yeah, 100%.
And they showed like they had a professional photographer. Did you see that? Any of those clips? Yeah, when they first came in, like when there was they came in one door and there was a guard that was trying to hold them back, and then they're like running at him, and then there's like a photographer taking pictures that came in with them. Yeah.
I saw this clip here. Play this one. Where they're all just outside of one of the doors. And then somebody comes up to the window, starts trying to smash it.
Why are they saying Antifa?
Because that's who it is.
Oh, okay.
And then this dude goes up and grabs him and is like, yo, what are you doing? And they all start cheering.
Yeah, so they
But-
knew.
But again, we talked about this when the George Floyd protest happened, because it was that AutoZone with the dude with the umbrella that really sparked off all the riots. Like everybody was out there just protesting peacefully.
Yeah.
But then you have one guy and nobody, and then
Right.
there's all these stories about where did this guy come from?
Right.
Why was he there? He wasn't from there.
But what is this a play? This is the Color Revolution's playbook.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So both sides don't understand how they're being played, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, right,
It's
right,
easy.
right.
It's easy to send in someone to spark the madness.
Mm-hmm.
If people are just if you got a couple 100,000 people in any place and somebody starts wilding, there's gonna be followers that run along with that. So it's not a hard thing to understand how they can easily manipulate that situation and then use that to, create a more police state than what we have already. They can, now you see what's happening with social media. I mean, they're coming after Christians, they're coming after any conservatives, they're all getting banned.
Yeah.
We are at risk. You know what I'm saying?
But we don't stop. And that's what, I mean, when you talk about why is this podcast called Young Lions? It's not for fun. It's we're speaking the things that we believe God is showing us.
Right.
And if you look at it, Ezekiel 19, a lot of the issue with the young lion is that he's by himself.
Yeah.
And I that's one thing I saw. It's the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
We are more powerful together.
Yep.
Two people come together and can become one. To a man and a woman have a baby. Multiplication. When somebody is intimate with God, you carry the actual testimony of Jesus, right? That's the spirit of prophecy. There's power there. That when you say the spirit of prophecy, that means that's words that are actually powerful that take away deception. When you see God for yourself, that's truth that you've recognized and seen.
Yeah.
And now you carry those words, and those words are words of life. That's waters of life, right? That's contrary to the waters of death that we were talking about, the raging waters. So there's that intimacy between two with God, like one and two. And then you have three. Three is a three braided cord. And when you think about that with music, that's a chord. That's a chordal structure. And it's something that can't be easily broken.
Right.
Even in music.
Yeah.
That's the basis. It's the foundation for if you're going to sing over something or you're going to move, and you need three notes.
Right. Because two notes doesn't give you if it's major or minor.
Right. But
unless
three,
you have something else to refer it off of.
Right.
So
but when you
need
have
at
those
least
three
notes,
you need those three. And what does it do? It sets you in the right key.
Mm-hmm.
It sets you in the right cycle. It sets you to where you're at so that you can flow. And that's the point. How are we flowing with God? If we're not familiar with him, we can't flow with him.
Right.
We can't move with him. So the intimacy, the relationship is about moving with him.
Right.
And that's why the nations are like foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
They're foreigners to God. So nations rage. And if you look, races, why are they contrary? Because people are like, oh, well, we do it this way. Oh, well, we do it that way. It's cultural.
It's cultural, yeah.
It's cultural. So we have to learn the culture of God. And it's funny because what does it say? The nations rage, right? But Jesus says, he said in John 3:16, which everybody knows this scripture, you know, God so loved the world. What's the world? The world's creation, that he gave his only begotten son. Begotten means, only begotten means one of a kind, or the only race. You know what I mean? The only race.
The only
one race.
Right.
So the only race son, right? God so loved the world that he gave his only race son. And when you look at that, that can sound like a little racist, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's about reconcile all races back to him. Reconciling all nations back to him. Right? So it's really about taking away you as a foreigner and bringing you into his kingdom, so that you're close to him. You're not a foreigner anymore, you know, doing foreign things that are contrary to him. But now you've come in, you're becoming familiar. You're creating his culture, right? And it talks about this in the Bible. Isaiah 56. It talks about, you know how Jesus says this is not a den of robbers, right? But it's he said, my house shall be a house of prayer for the nations. That's in Isaiah 56:7. And it's speaking about the foreigner. It's speaking about the foreigner, about reconciling the foreigner. And when you let the foreigner in, eventually he becomes a part of Israel. Right? So this is what Jesus is about. His house should be a house of prayer for the nations. So when people are contrary, we can't fight them. We got to love them. But if we don't receive his love, then we're not going to be familiar with that love in order to love somebody. We might try to love somebody, but because they're foreign, they're going to piss us off. They're going to frustrate us. You know what I mean? Because and that frustration can be good, but if we got to be vulnerable and go back to the one who can reconcile that frustration in our lives. You know, and that's like such a simple, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, race, genos, you know. But it says, so that whoever believes will not be destroyed, but have everlasting life, have eternal life. That's the whole point of it all. He wants to bring us into that. He doesn't want us to be destroyed. So to, you know, the person's point who said that it's not really about hell. It's about being separated from God. If we won't, God doesn't want us to be. It is hell, but that's why. So yeah, you can have a sort of hell on earth where you feel like you're separated from God, right? You feel like you're being attacked, but it's actually a lie. It's actually a lie because he's actually close. He's actually right there. He's waiting for you to see it. That's the grace, right? So if we are bold as lions and speak the roar of God because we're not afraid, right? We're not afraid, but we carry that roar. But in order to carry that roar, you got to be a lamb. You got to be a lamb led to the slaughter. Right? You got to die first, and then you'll be raised up to be a lion and carry that roar. And then that roar is going to bring people in, you know.
Real quick, shout out to my boy Duran from back in the day. Duran left a comment on here. What's up, bro? Me and Duran go all the way back to our college days, Camden County College. And me and him used to sit in the cafeteria and like have talks like this all the time about crazy stuff. He's a rapper, and he always got some stuff to say. He said the U.S. is pretty divided when it's supposed to be united. It's supposed to be united, especially since there's only one house united. It's divided. Someone has to leave. if a house is divided, I guess he's saying. Paul said, y'all might consider an alternative platform for your live streams, or at least a plan B. Also, check out getting a Telegram channel. Could be a cool addition to the Young Lion arsenal. I really don't know much about Telegram, like social media. I've been so like staying off social media, like Instagram. I really haven't been on there.
Yeah, you should check it out.
We also have Twitch.
We do have a Twitch. We have a Periscope. We have a Twitch. We have all that stuff. It's just like I can't be bothered to be like keeping up with all these platforms.
Yeah.
It's just too much, you know. So right now we're streaming on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, but we can add the Twitch to it. We got a D Live, we got a Periscope. We can add those two, but I mean, none of them are safe. So if you know any other alternatives that we could look into, Paul, let me know, because we will jump on that. Stephanie said, well, Ty said, precepts of man, because he was the only perfect one, talking about Jesus.
Exactly.
Foreigner is a Gentile. Stephanie said, to me, racist means you grew up with a tan, Africa versus Siberia. There are no races except Adam and Eve's children.
Yeah, I mean, there are races and there are nations. Just because, I mean, you can go back to Babylon and see that.
Mm-hmm.
It was separated at Babylon.
Right.
We chose it. The people back then chose to be separated.
Yeah.
Because they chose to go after other gods. So God had to bring in separation.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, and they were actually given over to angels, giving over to these councils, these angel councils. You can read Psalms 82 to get more on that. But so there are races, but it doesn't.
It's more ethnos.
It's ethnos.
The idea of race that we've constructed now,
not the
is
way we
something
see
different.
it.
Yeah.
Right. It's more about nations. It's more about what we're familiar with. But God reconciles it. So there is really only one race.
Mm-hmm.
And what to your point, you said.
She said, but not color.
You said there are no races except Adam and Eve. To your point, that's what Jesus came to bring us back to.
Right.
The beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it was Adam and Eve.
Right.
So to your point, that's true.
Right.
But we have to go through that.
That.
Right.
Right.
And so any differences there, it's only an opportunity.
Right.
It's only an opportunity for us to trust God. Like, we're going to have confrontations with people. People are not going to like me.
Yeah.
You know? Why? Because people aren't going to like what I got to say.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that they can't get to like me. But I trust in God for that, you know? And if because they're contrary to me, I become contrary to them, then there's always a space in between. It never gets filled.
Right.
You know, that's the missing puzzle piece. So we do have to become united, but we have to unite in the right way, not in the way we think it has to be.
Right. Because if you unite on the basis of, you know, who we want to win the presidency, or which party we are, or what we believe about, you know, anything.
Yeah.
Pick a topic. Like, all of those things can easily be infiltrated and manipulated, and then you can be led to the slaughter in a different way.
I mean, you see how they did it with, like, on the black side. Like, if you just believed it because Barack Obama was good because he's black, like, he played us.
Right.
You know, so
I mean, they literally had the same playbook with Kamala. They knew that they told Joe Biden, you have to pick a black woman as your VP because then you'll get the black female vote and most of the black vote, and it worked. Like, they know this is strategy,
right?
You know, so it's not like this is something that is just a far out there conspiracy. Like, this works. They know this stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it works because, like, if think about it like this. This is another thing I wanted to kind of add to the waters and the raging waters. What is in the waters? What's in the seas?
Oh yeah, you talked about
what comes out of the sea. Well, the beast comes out of the sea,
right?
And that's
Leviathan.
one thing. Well, I'm saying the beast that, you know, the Antichrist or the beast. The beast comes in Revelations. It comes out of the seas. What are the seas? It's the voices of all those. So we actually give power over to Leviathan, which gives power over to the Antichrist.
It's the AI, yo. It's the AI. It's collecting.
I mean,
Think about it. It's collecting all of the conversation, all of the data of what everyone hates and loves.
Right.
And it's going to create this perfect thing, you know what I'm saying, that will just unify everyone.
And it's a manipulation.
Yeah,
because it sees what do you like, what do you dislike,
right,
you know,
right.
what moves
it's
you.
already doing that. Facebook knows when you poop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it does. It knows when you poop because it knows your routine. It knows It knows what
I'm sorry, I just read. Paul said, y'all mean President Harris.
Yeah, they're gonna try to put her in there. But yeah, when you think about it, like that's what they could easily use to collectivize all of these the waters that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And when you think about, like you said it, Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
Leviathan is that ancient serpent. It's that dragon, right? When you think about the serpent, it's funny because when Egypt was going across the Red Sea, the Reed Sea, really,
Mm-hmm.
the Reed Sea was where reeds are where they get papyrus from,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in Egypt, they spoke about the serpent was a thing that moved between the reeds or the papyrus.
Okay.
So it's about the words, right? The words of the papyrus. So the serpent is able to slither between the words. He knows the concept of words, right? So that's what gives Leviathan power. It says in Job that he's the king over the sons of pride,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what gives him power is that he's over these seas. He's in these seas. He knows how to flow in and out of these seas. So what is the enemy going to try to get you? To get stuck in this sea and drowned, right? Because then you're going to be tossed to and fro, not knowing where to go. Or what Elijah said, how long will you be caught between two opinions?
Right.
So that's where they want to get you. And how you get there is being afraid and caring about the wrong things. That's how we get there. So it's a pressure, and we don't war against we don't war against flesh and blood, but against powers, principality, might, and dominion. So how we get there, it's always the pressure from people. And we talked about this before. Peer pressure. And what you are familiar with in your culture is what you're going to push on other people.
Right.
And that's how...
And your need to belong is what forces you into conceding to that. You know what I mean?
And that's your weakness, caring.
Yeah. Right.
And caring about the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I care about the way I dress. So, what happens, especially in the inner city.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what you wearing?
Yeah,
Oh, what are those?
Right.
That thing that happened back in, what are those? Or it's always about making somebody feel bad.
When we were kids, what was it? Bobos. You got Bobos on.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah.
I was watching an episode of Blackish, and they were doing a budget because they might have a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, the dad has to, cut down on
On
all
his
of his
shoe.
fly,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And he's wearing something whack, and he goes in, and his work dude is immediately like, "What are those? What? No, come to my office.
Yeah.
I got a locker. I got backup shirts.
Yeah.
We're gonna fix you up.
Right.
Everything's gonna be fine."
Yeah.
Like, what are those?
Yeah. But that's like life now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't exist if I have on, if I ain't fly all the time. It's like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we fighting for?
And that's a weak, like, if you can get somebody to care.
Oh, no, you didn't.
What?
Now that's stuck in my head, man. Damn it. I was trying to get that song out of my head. You heard me singing when we were setting it up.
Yeah.
And now it's back in my dang head.
That new Jutan.
Yeah, that Jutan.
Stephanie says, but not color. And not color. But color can be used.
Todd said, Bonos, they only cost a dime. Oh, Bobos, your mom buys them all the time. What? Bonos, they only cost.
I think he means
he means
Bobo.
Bobos.
He means Bobos,
Oh,
Bobo, they only
thought he was
cost a
talking
dime. Bobos, your mom buys them all the time.
like you talking about you too right now? Like, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, that was a rhyme that I guess we used to make fun of kids. Bobos, they only cost us that. Man, you know, remember Bobos my mom had to buy for us back in the day? My mom, when me and Jake were kids, my mom was like struggling to provide for us. Like, she would literally buy us one pair of pants that would have to last us forever.
She would
She
get
was
the patches.
sew patches on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like because she couldn't afford. And I didn't. We would go. He was a little more caring about that
I cared.
as a kid than me. Like I didn't
I
care
cared.
at all.
I was sensitive.
Yeah. Jake would always be like he didn't want nobody to see him.
Yeah, I'll admit I was sensitive.
Yeah.
I didn't like being made fun of.
Yeah.
So it was like I tried to figure out, okay, how can I not be made fun of?
Right.
You know, how can I not be seen?
And me with them thick ass glasses, no avoiding it.
Jay, Jay was like, I already lost.
I get
so-
made. Yeah,
Oh, well.
It's a losing battle. There's no avoiding it. So I'm just gonna lean into this. Give me the trumpet and anything else nerdy I can find. Just pile it on.
That makes sense now. I was wondering why she would always be like, "Oh, I'll just sew it for you. Oh, I'll just sew it for you." Even like my shirts get ripped, she would just sew it real quick. It'd be like this little strip of sewn, and I'd still wear it to school, like just one little.
Mom was known for that. Sew some stuff, put patches on it, whatever it took. She would buy us like the cheapest shoes from Payless. You had to keep them.
We would get things like 3 sizes too big. Like if you was a size 3, you got a size 6, and then you wore it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And the first year you just rolled up the sleeves,
Right.
and next year you rolled them down one more. The
Right.
third year it fit you, and you were like, "All right, I'm in business."
By that time, they saved up to get you the one for the next,
next
3
3
years.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was about it. Todd said, "Yo, man, I wore Bobos. Yeah, man. Love you guys. Always have a good night. Take care and stay safe." That's
Me
Gina.
too, Gina.
Mom said, "Ha ha." She's laughing at the so she knows.
Yeah, we used to get a lot of hand-me-downs.
Oh,
It's funny. We got a
definitely.
lot of hand-me-downs from, and I look back at this like, okay, Mom. Like, we got hand-me-downs from my
Dad's new
girlfriend.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, because she had a bunch of sons, and they were like way older than us. So we would get all that. We got hand me down toys, clothes,
Yeah.
and they had money. So yeah, they had stuff that we never. I remember when we first went to their house, and they had like all the flavored cereals that we never was allowed to eat.
All that junk, all
So
that
we was
colorful
like-
junk.
we
You're
was
like,
Tricks, Captain Crunch. This,
Yeah. We always had to eat like wheat brand.
Yeah.
The,
Mom would buy
the bags that they were like store brand. Remember those?
no, my mom wouldn't even buy that. My mom would buy ShopRite brand,
Yeah, ShopRite brand. So I'm talking
Raisin brand though. ShopRite
Yeah.
brand, Raisin brand.
Mom used to buy all that stuff. I remember that when I was a kid. All this ShopRite brand.
Yeah.
I was telling everyone I came back here. I was like, "Yo, we gotta have some ShopRite brand cereal. I'm kind of craving it right now."
Yeah, ain't that crazy? Yo, I was thinking about this today, actually. And I don't know how true this is. I'm going to do some research on it. But I honestly think that sagging pants came from dudes not wanting to get made fun of for having floods on because their pants... You know how, like, if you
I thought
pour...
it came from jail.
That's what they say.
Right.
But that never makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would that just translate itself out into everyone doing it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I have a feeling that I'm going to look into it. This is my own theory that, like, dudes that didn't want to, like, because, you know, you would get, if your ankles was up too high, you was getting made fun of, you know. So,
Now it's like a thing.
yeah. Now that's the look now.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like back then, so if you couldn't afford no more pants and you was growing out of your pants, just sag them down a little bit. No, and then you can't see that part because you wear a shirt with it, so you could get away with it. That's my theory, yo. I'm telling you.
It works a lot more for like how it became a daily neighborhood. Like everyone
Yeah,
does it,
right.
You know, I mean, jail is like, yeah, maybe, but really now, now it's a cult wide
Right.
phenomenon.
Right.
Like I don't know.
Right. I've never seen that
Definitely
happen with
possible,
anything
but-
else in jail.
Yeah.
You know, which is weird. Stephanie said, "Here's the thing: we all know what Revelation says. Poop is going to hit the fan." No matter what we do, and God willing, it comes soon. But if we are true Christians, we will just go as commanded as often as we can.
Yeah, but I mean, I can only speak from the way God is showing me, and what He's showing me is, I think He wants to do some things in government, in education, in a lot of these realms that people think are that God can't be. He wants to infiltrate all these places and really show off.
In music,
Create
in movies,
and that this has been like
In music videos.
these have been like prophetic words like that we have been in our life, like especially with music, like what God is going to do in the music industry. So, you know, we can't discount and just call something like horrible.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think God is just going to come in and destroy everything. I think that he wants to reconcile a lot of things, you know, and show how he can work through them.
Right.
You know, but in order to do that, people need to be raised up that are in a state where they won't be, they won't compromise.
We need more young lions.
Yeah.
We need more young lions, and that's why we appreciate all of y'all that keep watching.
Yes, and thank you, Stephanie, for all your stuff that you're writing.
Stephanie is always very engaged. We appreciate
all you guys.
that.
Todd.
Yeah, Gina,
Paul,
Mom,
Duran, Justice.
Yeah. Ariana is always there. We love you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
For having something to talk about.
Yeah. You guys help us.
This is interesting. And I will say, one thing I hate about text is it's hard to get what people are really saying.
Yeah.
Like, because it's hard to perceive what you really mean sometimes. So sometimes we might say something and we're off in terms of what you're trying to say. So we apologize because it's hard through text.
Yeah, man. Let me show y'all this other video that I thought was hilarious from, well, not hilarious from the Capitol thing, but it was one of those things going around Twitter. And the comment says, the moment we realized that this is a staged psyop, which is some people's opinion.
Yeah, I think this is the one where there was a camera.
There's a camera on the dude right now. Like, who's filming that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And look, he's like pretending to hold them back.
Yo, that's the video I was telling you about.
There's a camera right there.
Yeah, okay. And then he goes to the next level. Hey, what is that? Okay.
That's the one when he gets up there. That's when they were like, "Oh, he lured them away from the Senate chamber."
Oh, is that what he was doing? He was luring them into somewhere else.
When he gets to the top of the steps, there's like the Senate chamber.
Yeah.
And then he goes the opposite direction, and then that's when all the other cops are waiting.
Yeah.
I feel like what I should have seen was people rushing towards him and him fighting for his life to defend something and getting knocked down.
Right.
That's not what I saw.
The way that they've been framing it, right?
I don't know
if
what
he got
that
swallowed
is,
by the crowd, it'd be too dramatic.
And that's the other thing is like all of these people feeding into the race element of it. Oh, if this was black people, they would be, they would all be getting shot right now. And
yeah, I've heard that so much.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, Nancy Pelosi said it. They're all saying that, which, people just want to.
Paul said it's all theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about 90% of it is.
I think 90% of all of it is. Like everything we see. When we see them speak on, when you see any of these politicians up there pretending they're advocating for things. But then as soon as they walk behind, they're shaking each other's hands, they're patting each other on the back, and they're saying, look at these dummies,
And that's what, like, these things need to be exposed. And it's like, why does it take so long? What is going on? Like, because I know a lot of people are like, when's it going to happen? But man, I really believe like God is such a loving God that he's like, he wants some of these people to turn to him.
Yeah.
And I think we got to pray for people. Like as much as we might not like some of these people, like we can learn. Like I heard somebody talking about that, like I hate this person. But God was showing me that I got to love him. Like I got to love him even though like.
That's the thing is like, if you find yourself feeling like you hate these people, you hate this one, like that's the plan. The plan is to continue that. And that's what we have to get past.
Like vitriol as an everyday emotion.
Yeah. Just like you see, a Karen and you're like, I hate this person. Like that's the plan. Stephanie said, "Sing for me, sing for your dad right now. I know James isn't there, bless his heart, but I need to hear some good news." James doesn't sing with us.
You
But
mean Simone?
You mean Moon? Yeah, Moon's not here. People got paid to play in DC. That's a fact. I didn't even bring the guitar in because I thought we wasn't going to sing. So sorry.
People got paid to play. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were bussing. They definitely were bussing some people in.
Oh, I
Like,
mean, that's what they do.
There's
That's what they
definitely
do.
some paying going on.
They bust people into all of these protests.
But at the same time, like, it's obvious something's going on.
Mom said, "I love Nancy Pelosi." LOL.
Hey, you gotta love them.
Yeah.
It's not like we have to love. I mean, the Bible says love your enemies.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's a hard thing to take. Like, but we gotta love people that just annoy us, and we know they're liars and stealers, killers, whatever.
Right.
But we gotta love them because you never know who could turn around and, repent.
Like Paul. Paul was killing Christians.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of people out there, like, all it takes is for them to see what's really going on.
Yeah.
I think there's people out there that want to turn, and there's people out there that are in the government in different arenas, and they want to do good, but they're like, I got no choice. I got no choice but to do what I'm doing because
This is the game.
there's no other way.
Yeah.
Stephanie said, "Don't need no guitar." Saker Alatrock said, "Love you guys. This is all planned. We have to stand strong together. Seriously, we have to pray for all of us, all because what is coming scary for real on all of us. This is the time to unite our nation with no difference in color, race. Keep up the great work." Thank you.
Thank you. And yes,
Yeah, he commented last week when we were having the who can say the N-word discussion, which is like the only reason why I was even engaging with that is to show how it's a ridiculous debate because you're debating a nonsensical argument, in my opinion, like a word that is made up to use as a hateful way that we want to take back, and then but only certain people can use it, but then we don't really have
it's confusion.
yeah,
It
it's just,
sounds like to me. So then,
yeah,
why don't we just not use it?
yeah,
What is the root of it? Let's go
Right.
back to the root. Oh, not good. So let's just let
I
it
don't
go.
think anybody should use it.
or what about let's not even care about it? You know what I'm saying?
well,
if someone did use it, who cares?
Yeah,
You know
if somebody
what I'm saying?
use-
that's the ultimate.
well,
like,
Yeah, but I'm saying for like us, we don't got to use it
no,
because
yeah,
it doesn't mean anything.
no, right,
And I think that's the point. Like,
yeah. But that was the whole, like he commented last week about like he said the right thing in the comment,
right,
because it was like, why are we even talking about this? But like the only reason why is because not everybody thinks.
Well, they were talking about
right,
it. Really.
right. It came up because he was like, "Oh, that's your brother," and then we were talking about we have different dads, blah blah blah. What's the the heritage? And then he was like, "So is he allowed to say the N-word?" He's the one that asked that, And then that started the whole conversation and made Kyle very awkward. And he said his mom mentioned that to him too, about like him having to sit there while we discussed that.
Yeah.
But that was funny. But anyway, yeah, thank you for the comment. We appreciate you. Hey, and guys, make sure you share this, please. Like if you haven't shared it already, if you have, we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing.
We need all the support we can get at this point. I know everybody is scared to put themselves out there, but just share this. And remember, we have a Patreon also. If anybody wants to become a member and support us, we might have to think of some other ways to do that too, because I know Patreon is kicking mad people off too, based off of whatever your views are that they don't agree with. Like they will kick you off and take all your money. So, but for now, if anybody wants to support the Young Lions and become a Young Lion through those channels, and just kind of like seed into what you believe in, or what you if you think that it's important to have conversations like this, you can support it and help us grow this thing.
Yeah. Love you too, Todd. And sorry, Stephanie, we're not going to sing Amazing Grace. Maybe next time.
Take us out with Amazing Grace. Well, what were we singing? Remember we were singing at church?
Oh, darling, you send me.
Yeah, but first, before you go into the why we were singing that.
So it was from a song we have, and the song's called "What Are We Fighting For?" And the song is basically about us fighting. It's just going through the process of trusting God and learning who He is. But the hook is, what are we fighting for? What are we holding on to? I'm not going to fight no more when the answer is always beginning and ending with you.
Right.
And it doesn't mean we're not going to fight, but it means I'm not going to fight my own battle. And so at the end, we were talking about like something that God was showing me to put in the song, which was only you send me. You send me. You're the only one I'll fight for. And before I told my brother that, I was in the car, and a lot of songs come to us that are regular songs, but we find to be prophetic. Mm-hmm. You know, we find to be redeemable. And so I was singing the song in the car just to God, and then Jamie at church, he brings this song up. Oh, so I see you found a guitar.
Yeah, but it's so out of tune that like it's not. I gotta get a tuner to even use it.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. Keep saying what you were saying.
No, I mean, that's it, really. So this song, You Send Me, which is by...
Sam Cooke.
Is it Sam Cooke? I thought it was. Yeah, it is Sam Cooke. By Sam Cooke, really just hit me about, God sending us. You're the one who sends us, and it's His love that sends us. So we were just singing the song to God, and it was just funny how we were on the same page on the same day.
I know, that was crazy.
But didn't know it.
I was playing it while you were talking because it was making me think of it.
Right. And so I guess we're going to sing a little bit.
Sing a little bit of it. Just flow on it a little bit. I mean, this thing has been, people have been... messing around with it while we wasn't here, so it's a little out of tune.
But I think that's what's so good about God. And Todd said something about that. God wants to be in everything, and God is in everything. And if He wants to connect us to everything, He wants us to be able to redeem, to connect to people and everything, but not us trying to do it ourselves, but Him showing how He's connected and everything, so that we can reach people where we couldn't reach them before. And hopefully Jamie gets this done. Saker says,
Jake's good at that.
God, graceful and merciful. I love your energy, guys. Time to say what is on our minds. Yes, God is real and with us at all times. No one has the right to steal that from us. Faith is the key. Yep, faith is the key. Faith is the key. Something, I'll share this real quick while Jamie's still doing it. Something that God showed me that I thought was really cool is that righteousness and justice are the foundation of His throne. And although I knew that, when you really dig in, and like I said this earlier, I'm a numbers guy, and in the Hebrew, everything breaks down the numbers. So righteousness is the number 6, justice the number 7, and foundation is the number 8, throne number 9. So 6, 7, 8, 9, and it actually in there is a key. And it's about 6. 6 is the number of peg, which you jam into it's a tent peg, but it's actually a nail, right? So 6 has to do with our hands and our feet, right? It has to do with where was God pierced? Where was Jesus pierced? On His hands and His feet, right? So it's about giving up our lives, right? But you have the number 5. The number 5 is grace. So we won't give up our lives until we come to the place where we see him and his grace. Then we come to the number 6, which is giving up our lives and being pierced through our hands and our feet, where we're pierced to the cross. That's the way. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and life. That's the way. That's the altar. That's the outer court, right? Then we come to the truth. That's the number 7. The number 7 represents the menorah, the 7 lights of God. So that's the holies, right? And the 7 lights of God shine on the bread and the wine. It shines on God, his covenant, when he made his covenant with us. Remember me, right? Eat of this. What are we remembering? His name, his true character. Eat this in remembrance of me. Drink this in remembrance of me. This is my covenant. So we're coming into seeing him for who he really is. That's the number 7, because it's the rest of God. When we rest in him, we see the rest of him, right?
Jake's bars.
that's the
Rest
number
in
7.
him, we see
I
the
can't
rest of
take.
him.
God gave me that.
Okay.
God gave me that.
All right.
But so that's the number 7, and then that brings us. The last thing that's in the holies is the incense, which has to do with praise. So then we come to the place of praise, where we praise him because we've seen him for who he really is, right? And that opens up the veil. So now we can go into the Holy of Holies. That's the number 8. The number 8 represents a breakthrough. Number 8 represents new beginnings or new life, right? So we're entering into a new life, not the old. The old has died and the new is coming. So every time we go through this process, we're enthroning God in our lives, right? It's an enthronement of God. Number 9 is fruit. It also has to do with character. So the foundation of God's throne is righteousness. So what does righteousness mean? It's the just shall live by faith. In order to be righteous, you have to walk the way of righteousness with this faith. You have to be faithful, right? That's the way. To be faithful is his way, right? That's the way of righteousness. Then you come. So you see how so many people want justice, but they don't walk in righteousness. So many people want to be justified, but they won't walk in righteousness. So they're out of order. See, you can't. So now you try to go into the holies and see God for who you think he is by your own light, which blinds you to his way. See, it's pride. So he has to take us back to his grace and humble us so that we can come back into his way and enter into that place where we come into his throne and we enthrone him in our lives. And then he can send us out. But we can't be sent if we haven't seen him face to face before his throne. And the way, the truth, and the life is a process of coming closer and closer and closer to God. We see him, but from a distance, and we get closer and closer to him. And then, so me and Jamie were singing this song, and this is kind of like what it's about. Go ahead, Jamie.
You send me. I know you send me. Whoa, you send me. Honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Whoa.
You move me. Only you move me. My Lord, only you move me. Oh, honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. You're so good to me. Whoa, you're so good to me. Whoa, only you, so good to me. You're so good, so good, so good.
Only you can move through me. Only you can get to the root of me. Only you move me. Honest you do. Honest you do, honest you do.
Yeah.
He's so good.
All right, you can turn that off. Thank you. All right, guys. I guess we'll wrap it up there. It's right at 10 o'clock. We appreciate everybody who stopped in. And Stephanie, yeah, you convinced us to sing. Found the guitar and figured out a way to make it work.
She did it.
But we appreciate everybody. Hey, you know, that should make you want to subscribe and become a member. You know, it's not that hard. You can go to our Patreon, you can donate, or you can sign up for the membership thing, and then that's like they charge you like I think $5 a month or something like that. And then you can get like special content. You can get the early releases of our music before everybody else, stuff like that. But or you can just support, you know. But we appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you for Rachel for sitting in again. Shout out to Moon out there. I hope you feel better tomorrow, bro. We will talk to you. We're praying for you, James. Praying for you, James, and your family, all you guys. We love you guys. Carter, Steve. Saker said, "Oh man, what a nice gathering. I truly feel the energy. May God bless you all. Amen."
Thank you, Saker.
Thank you. Stephanie said, "Praise Jesus." Todd said, "You are so gifted, my man. We can never be righteous. We can only walk in his
righteousness,
I guess." Mom said, "Good night, everyone." Good night, Mom. Yeah, we appreciate you too, Todd. He said, "No, we appreciate you all." Listen, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep trying to reach out, and we're going to keep trying to find the young lions and everyone. And we're just going to keep doing what God has shown us to do.
Don't let anybody or the enemy or whatever, keep you quiet, shut you up, try to put your light out.
Try to take your roar, like Lion King, right? They took his roar away. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so we'll see you guys next week. We love all you. God bless, and everybody stay safe. All right, Emma. Emma said stay blessed. Good night. Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
See you next week.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people in, woo.